guys, welcome to the Rent Club, and this is the second episode of the Owner Spotlight. And today we have someone who's a really serious car enthusiast and really loves what he does. So we have Dr. Nirmal Krishnan with us today, and we're gonna go through like the complete journey. It's gonna be a very long and interesting one to all the cars he's had. And yeah, welcome, Dr. Nirmal. How are you doing?
Hi, Adi. How are you doing? I'm good.
Good. So yeah, let's get straight to it. So what was the first car you really drove as your own?
Yeah, the first car I bought with my own money was a Swift VDI diesel. It was one of the first few cars that was sold. The diesel Swifts that was sold in the state at that moment. It was white, and that was a new color at that time. The pearl white color was a new color at that time. So I went to buy a petrol Swift, and the salesman persuaded me to have a test drive in this car, and because I've never experienced torque like that at that time, because I was driving a Zen before that, and it was 1 liter, very easy engine. You had to drive it really high to get some kind of power out of it, and immediately I was impressed by the torque delivery. Did my research, and I found out that this is an award-winning Fiat engine that's gone into a Swift Suzuki car. And the moment I drove it, I understood that this engine was going to be there for a long time to come. It'll be there in many platforms, many cars, and that happened actually. Fiat later adopted their own engine into their cars.
So which car did that engine come in later?
I think the Punto had it. The Linea
the 1.2.
So
that was the TJet
Swift basically. Yeah, the TJet, Swift had a FGT version of it. Fixed geometry turbine variant. So it produced 75 horsepower. And the Linea had a VGT variant of that.
Okay, cool.
I had many cars in that hatchbacks that had adopted the TJet engine, even internationally.
Okay, cool.
And even today, they are selling the TJet engine, different variations.
Right. So that was like the first of its kind in India, basically. Yeah. So after this, before the Swift, you had the Zen, right? So tell us more about that one.
Zen was a 1996 carburetor Zen, 1 liter engine.
Wow.
At that time, we felt that because that was a transition from a Maruti 800 to a Zen. My dad was driving, his daily car was a Maruti 800. We had very fond memories, but unfortunately our driver crashed it, and it was, but still he paid almost the price of the car to completely restore and repair the car. But we sold it ultimately. We got the Zen, and Zen was considered very premium hatchback at that time period. I think the late 90s. And we had it for around 1 lakh kilometers. By the end of its life cycle, I think he handed it over to me when I was doing my final year of MBBS, and I had fun time. It was nice car, no? But only thing, the safety part of the car was a little
bit shaky,
suspect at that time. Suspect. I remember spinning 360 degree on the road when a lady just crossed me.
You've been really back in the day.
Yes, definitely. I've had my fair share of luck at that time, definitely. We didn't have so much traffic. This happened when a lady just jumped out of the bus, in front of the bus. I was passing the bus through the right, the bus had halted. This lady jumped onto the road. I had to hard brake, and the Swift rotated around her and stopped in the opposite direction. So everybody was swearing at the lady. I was thinking that I save somebody's life, and I would die at that moment.
When car control pays off.
Yeah, definitely. So that's probably first time I knew how to control a complete 360 degree turn.
Wow. Okay. So
then probably I used it for a year, and then I bought the Swift after that, because I personally loved the Swift. My dad did not like the Swift. He was discouraging me to buy one, but somehow I felt that it is a budget Mini Cooper. At that time, Mini Coopers were not there in India. A few very select imports were there, early Mini Coopers. So and this is very affordable, budget Mini Cooper, and the performance also was great. At
that time, it was like one of the best cars in the market.
Yeah, and I always don't keep my car stock. Immediately after probably 1 year into the ownership, I started, trying to modify the car. I had a tuning box initially from Pete's. I think Pete's Performance was just coming up at that stage. They were into business. 2006, 2007. I had
Right.
early tuning boxes in that. I had a green cotton filter. And later,
Green cotton.
yeah, there was a
Okay, I've never
company
heard of
called
that.
Green Cotton. They have shut
Okay.
down of late.
Okay.
The filter looked like a K&N filter, but it is green color.
Okay.
You can do your
Okay,
research. Green Cotton.
Yeah,
filter.
yeah,
They had-
definitely.
It was quite a big company, but they
Okay.
became bankrupt and they closed.
Right.
Probably late 2000s, they closed down, and there was
Okay.
no more Green Cotton. Pete's was the exclusive dealer at that time.
Okay.
So I had a
Cool.
cold air intake kind of filter at that time.
Yeah.
It was nice, and I had wonderful memories with the car because there was a lot of shuttle from me from Calicut to Trishur, where my hometown is in Trishur, and it's around
Right.
120 kilometers through very winding roads. So
Perfect.
it was real, yeah. So it
Yeah.
was just a perfect car for me at that time.
Yeah.
And I was a
Definitely.
bachelor back then, and getting immersed in the driving experience and loving every
Just ending
day
it.
I was using the
Yeah.
car. And it was quite a teary moment when I sold the car. That was immediately after marriage, when I settled in practice, probably a couple of years into practice. I used that car for 4.5 years.
Right.
And
Okay.
by the end of its life cycle, I had a turbo upgrade on that. I had a
Oh, you
downpipe.
turbocharged it? Oh, it was turbo.
No, it's a turbo car.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
diesel
big
turbo
turbo,
with
basically.
intercooler, but I had a hybrid turbo. Probably it was the first
Wow.
hybrid turbo Swift.
People are like
Done-
thinking that this is a new thing. You've been doing it since then.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that is 2008 or 2009. I think I had a hybrid turbo. That was the first hybrid turbo Swift in the country at that moment.
Wow. Okay. Mad. So,
Then I had a GT, Swift GT Sport, Swift Sport body
Okay.
kit on it.
okay.
And very high-end music system. The Swift, the only drawback I felt was that it rattles like hell. The
Okay.
plastics are so flimsy and the build quality is so bad. You get into some bad roads, the dashboard starts rattling. So I had seen an audio consultant in Cochin,
Right.
and they did a full damping, the acoustic damping for my car.
Okay.
And we did a reasonably priced audio system at that moment. And
You basically decked this car out.
yeah, completely, yeah.
Yeah.
But that is the phase of your life where you do things like this. And now I
Yeah.
look back at a couple of friends, younger friends, doing all this. I think this is all what I have gone through at that moment.
Yeah.
But it was
For sure.
fun experience. Then I always had a fascination for at that time. The late 90s when I grew up. Hardly
Yeah.
you see any cars. You are not exposed to any of these cars.
Right.
We had the
So it's like-
Ambis and we had the Padmini Premier.
Yeah.
We had the Herald.
Yeah.
So that's all what I've seen. My grandpa used to own a Buick back in that time, and it was
Okay.
passed on generations, and that was in our house. So that is
Okay.
probably the only exotic kind of car
A
I've seen
Buick.
at that time. Buick 8.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that is probably the only exotic car I have seen in that
Yeah.
period. But then I had always got fascination for cars. I used to collect Hot Wheels. I was a big fan of Bond movies, and probably that's why the Q cars, or most of the Q cars they have, were BMWs or Aston
Yeah.
Martins. So I'm
Yeah.
fascinated with both these brands.
Okay.
Aston Martin was not something that was not attainable at that moment.
Okay, cool.
So
Yeah.
that's when I was fascinated by BMWs and Aston Martins.
Right.
Probably those are the most exotic cars in my mind at that time.
Yeah.
And but Aston Martins, we know it was never an achievable dream. But I
Back
somehow
then, yeah.
wanted, a couple of 2 or 3 years into practice, I somehow wanted to get my hands on a BMW. My dad
Okay.
said it's too expensive. You work for it, and you buy it yourself. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get you a car.
Yeah.
So I think it's in 2009, end of 2009, I picked up a slightly very well used pre-owned 3 Series 320D. That was my
Okay.
first step into
This is an
rear-wheel drive.
E90.
Yeah, E90 sedan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
320D. I had a 320D.
Right.
So that was my stepping stone into a rear-wheel drive car.
That's
I never wanted
yeah.
after using the Swift for so long, I thought front-wheel drive cars cannot get better. So
Okay.
I used to have a fascination for Skoda at that time. I always wanted to pick a VRS, the Octavia VRS.
Right.
And then the new Laura came up. That also I was fascinated by. But then ultimately I wanted a rear-wheel drive car.
Right.
That's when I bought my first rear-wheel drive car in 2009. I had a 320.
Okay.
And
so TC off basically.
yeah, I wanted I was the biggest fan of the E60. E60 5 Series. I wanted one some point of time. Yeah. Look, it looks so menacing. You used to go in the Swift.
Back then, for sure.
Yeah, it was so menacing on the road. Yeah, it was so menacing on the road. I used to love that dark blue color. I don't know the name of the shade. I used to love that dark blue color. So I wanted an E60 some point of time, but 320 was for my stepping stone. I used it for a year. Again, I had modifications on it. I had a custom remap. I had a Bilstein B16 suspension on it, which could be controlled on a mobile phone in 2009.
Oh wow! Wait, what mobile phone did you have to control it?
Yeah, it was controlled by the first day. I think it was it was some Nokia phone. I don't remember, but
it was a button phone to control your suspension.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's crazy. That's
and finally, I thought it was too inconvenient. I imported a small button and fixed it in the ashtray area where I could switch it on and off. But then I found it's too the car was lowered too much and it was too impractical for our roads.
Okay.
You know when the car
the button
lowers,
to stiffen it.
Yeah, button to stiffen it. And otherwise it becomes super soft. Like super soft means it's like E-class soft.
All over the place. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So then I removed that thing off. I used it in the stock form. Maybe 1.5 years down the lane, I wanted to upgrade to a E60. I bought a new E60, and that was the last E60 that came out of Kerala showroom, because they had already introduced the F10, and then I didn't like the F10. I didn't like the first generation F10 looks. I didn't like the steering. It never felt connected. So I had the E6. I bought the E60. It was a brand new car. 2011, I think. 2011, I bought the E60 530D. So that was a powerhouse at that time, if you remember. 2010.
And I used to spin into second and all. I remember riding in a few of them.
Yeah, and that was a definitive sports sedan at that time.
Okay.
I used it for 4.5 years. It had a very nice journey. That's when I had a kid. So I used to, again shuttle between, my wife is from Calicut, same place where I had my post-graduation. So to shuttle up and down 120 kilometers of winding roads.
Up and down that same winding road.
It was amazing, mesmerizing. And I did KW suspension on that at that time. I had forged wheels, remap, everything was there. The works.
Oh God.
So 4.5 years, I used for 4.5 years simultaneously. That's when I was starting to enjoy. I enjoyed diesel. So till that moment of time, I had 3 diesel cars: the diesel Swift, then the 320D, and then 530D.
Yeah.
So then I started realizing that these cars are basically based on torque. You top end, you don't have power. So I was a sucker for, once I drove my friend's Octavia VRS, I thought this is an entirely different feel. Using a petrol car it is a game changer, I felt. The first time when I actually got to drove, because I've never got a test drive of a Octavia. That's when my friend bought a pre-owned one. I drove it, and the kind of power delivery was entirely different. Yeah. So I was sucker for top end power. And that's when I thought I needed, so I was pretty much, my finance portion and all was settled. Majority finance portion was settled on the E60 530D. I want another car which could give me the thrill.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe, because it really motivates us to shoot more content, edit more videos, and just create more things for you guys to watch. And if you guys have any ideas related to what we should shoot next, or if you guys have any interesting car stories or something like that, feel free to reach out to us, maybe through the comment section below, or even DM us on Instagram. So yeah, thank you.